Hi guys, Jordan from P&P Campers. Just going to do a handover video on your Swift Voyager. It's on the 2008 Fiat Ducato chassis. It's on the 130 multi-jet. You see there. I'll run you through the cab in just a minute, but I'll tell you what, we'll just start under the bonnet. So under the bonnet we've got all of the sort of fluids and things are over on this left hand side, or the majority of them are. So you've got your washer fluid up the top just there, power steering fluid and engine coolant. Then got your brake fluid reservoir attached to the servo, and your engine oil gets topped up through this cap just here. You can see there, nice and clean. The engine oil dipstick is the red topped one just down here in front of it, and your white paint code is 249. Chassis plate there telling you that it weighs 4 ton, or that the gross weight is 4 ton. You've then got your air filter sits down there in the cupboard there, and the positive and negative points for the engine battery. So if you wanted to jump start the van, you've got a positive terminal just here under this flap and a negative terminal just here at the front. Fuel filter sits at the back just there. And that is about it really for under the bonnet. It does look like it's going to rain, so I'm just going to pop this down. There we go. So the bonnet release handle on these is inside this passenger door, just inside here. And the reason they do that is just so that you cannot get to it without having the door open, so it's a safety feature really. Just down here behind the passenger door you've also got your fuel filler point, which is diesel. I've got the awning out just because I've just finished the hab check, but you can see there all the fabric is in good condition, no rips, tears, anything nasty on it whatsoever. I've lubricated the legs and the knuckles on there as well, so you shouldn't get any squeaking. But yeah, all working well. So you've got these two vents just here, which are both to do with your fridge. As part of the habitation check, I did notice that this tap here in the kitchen was leaking, and just so that you know for the future, you've got really good access to the bottom of the tap just here from this top vent, so if you ever needed to get to that in the future, just bear that in mind. Step comes out from this little switch just here, so you press the button there and the step will come in and out electronically. You've also got these two switches just here which do the set of lights just there in the middle, and another set of lights in the back by the roof light. So you've then got the gas locker just here, so it's an upright gas locker which has got space in here for 2 of these 6 kilo propane bottles if you should want 2 of them. This hose is 2021 dated, so you've got 5 years generally on these hoses, so you've got till 26 to replace that. To turn the bottle on, you go anti-clockwise round to the left, and turn it off, you go clockwise round to the right until it stops. The only other thing you need to know really, you have got a gas spanner in the cupboard here. Previous owners obviously left that for you. When you come to replacing the bottle for a different one, you undo this big nut here after turning the bottle off, obviously. Undo the nut there and take the pigtail hose off, put it onto the other one and just nip it up with that spanner. You can then turn the bottle on and the regulator should allow the gas through. This cupboard at the back here gives you good access to the leisure batteries. So you've got the factory fitted leisure battery down here. Well, the factory fitted space for the leisure battery. They are both nice modern batteries actually, really nice hefty ones. But there is one leisure battery in there and another one in line just in that box next door. As I said, we've got the awning out at the moment, just because I thought it was going to rain, but it may or may not now. The camera, the original factory camera up there, isn't actually in use at the moment. The original screen has obviously been taken out from the cab, but you have got this camera down here as part of the number plate surround, which I think is always quite a neat way of doing it, so that you don't have a separate camera anywhere. But I will just point out to you when we get into the cab that the center screen, the actual head unit in the vehicle, works with that camera there. So when you put it into reverse, you get a rear view camera coming up on the screen, which is really nice. Nice clear camera. You've got your bike rack up there, and that's about it really for the back, to be honest. I have just remembered that you've got the waste drain off point down here, so you just turn the handle just there, whichever way it will go. So that is now in the off position, and that is in the on position, as in open. So any water that you put down any of the drain holes will come out here from the waste tap. You've got the tow bar at the back of this particular vehicle as well, which is always good, because the motorhomes are sort of all different lengths from the rear wheel. Sometimes, and most of the time actually, the chassis are kind of, if you imagine if this was just still a van like it was built on, the chassis will stop further back than the actual back of the vehicle. So the tow bars have to be fabricated and extended. They sort of extend the chassis to fit these tow bars, so they're not cheap. So any vehicle that's got, any motorhome that's got a tow bar on it is always a good plus. Boiler vent is just here, so if you did have the boiler on, you will have condensation building up down here where you can see it's been condensating for a little while. Hookup point is this one just here. I've got it plugged in at the moment so I can show you a few bits working inside. Thetford toilet cassette locker, super easy to use. All you need to do is lift up on the little yellow tab and pull the cassette out. You can then turn the hand at this sort of main draining point here and take the cap off. It's blue because the blue fluid is what goes inside the cassette, and that is what breaks down all the stuff that goes inside. So when you're emptying this out, you should be holding down the little yellow button just there at the back and push it all the way back in to secure it back in place. The only other bit on the outside is this freshwater filling point. Now you have got a lock behind this little cover just here, but it is exactly what it says on the tin really. You just put your fresh water in here. You do have access to the freshwater tank inside as well, which I will point out to you, which is where you drain it out from. But otherwise that is all of the bits and pieces for the outside. So it's a Voyager 695EL, which stands for End Lounge. Popular sort of layout across the board. Okay, so in the cab, what I have just learnt from Daniel here is that these Blaupunkt units here are what would have come with the cab, with the van from standard. So that factory fitted reversing camera on the back of the van there, probably when it came out of the factory would have been wired up and linked up to this. But because it's, 2008 isn't old, but for technology like this, it is a little bit old. So they've replaced it for a nice modern version, which is that unit there. So if I just pop the ignition on, screen comes out. Takes a few seconds just to sort of load up what it's doing. But if you have a look, it should come on any second now. There you go. So this is your navigation system on here. I just thought I'd run you through a few bits on this head unit because it is quite modern. So this is your sat nav here. You can go through and select new route. That's just showing you where people have searched up before. Restaurants, just for example, it's just coming up with a load of random ones really. So there you go. So that's how you use that. So when we go back here, if I select reverse, the screen goes off and then shows us our rear view camera. So like I said, a nice clear picture there, and then it comes back off again when we take it out of reverse. So really simple. You can go back again, which, there you go, that down there I should think. There you go. So then you've got your various ways that you can use it really. Radio, obviously you have to tune that in, change all the date, all that sort of stuff, but you can connect up your phone to it however you like. But there you go. So I just thought I'd show you that because that is a nice, modern head unit there. When you put the ignition off, it will go away. Right, so in the cab you've got a nice high spec in here. So you've got the lights on the left hand stalk and the indicators, as well as the cruise control from down here. So you've got the on and off from the top just here, resume, set, and you can set the memory for it there as well. You can also use it as a limiter if you want to, but there you go, that's how you do that. You've got the 6-speed manual gearbox as opposed to the 5-speed, which is always good. Washers and wipers on the right hand side. You've got the electric adjusting mirrors from this one just here as well. So you select which mirror you want to move, and then you just basically move this around like a joystick in order to move the mirror. So you can probably just about see it moving around there. As for the cab, I think that's about it really. But I just thought I'd quickly tell you what this was, because I will leave it in the glove box there. But if you ever wondered what this was, this was the original fitted head unit. But you know, as time moves on, you just sort of move on to more modern stuff. So that's what that is anyway. Okay, so I've got the air conditioning on, just because, you know, it was something I had to check as part of the hab check, but also, you know, it's always a really nice thing to have on. I thought I'd show you it all working and, you know, doing its job nicely. So as soon as we walk in, we've got the control panel up here above the door. So first things first, you can see all the time what's going on at the moment. So we've got the time, the date, that isn't right obviously, but internal temperature, you can change it and see the external temperature as well, but that just gives you a very brief run through of what's going on. I can press this little tick button here to bring the screen up and then have a look through our fresh and wastewater levels, the leisure and engine battery voltages, the amps, that's not quite correct, and that basically just tells us what's going on. This button just here, if you're hooked up on the mains, all that button there does is it converts the power that goes from which battery. So if you want to charge up your engine battery instead of the leisure, press this button just here and the engine battery will start getting charged up. So if I press that here now and go back on the battery voltage, you can see now the engine battery has gone up to 13.1, and so if I turn it off, it switches over. So that's essentially what that does. It kind of just switches the battery that the battery charger is charging. So yeah, there you go. So you've then got, on the left hand side here is the sort of more important side, you've got the water pump switch here at the top, awning light, internal light to help you come in, and the main lights on and off switch. So if I press this bottom switch now, all of the lights in the whole van come on and off. So this is your main lights on and off. If you want to have this light come on every time you come in, you can leave this switch here on, and you've also got access to the awning light from inside this cupboard here. So I'm going to press this second button just here, and you can see there awning light coming on and off, as you would hope. So basically these three switches here are for your lights, and this one here at the top is for your pump. Now, assuming that you've got some fresh water in the tank, you will be able to use the tap as you know, when the pump is switched on. The pump sits down here underneath this seat over on the other side, and it is a new pump, so I have replaced it for a new one. The old one was leaking a little bit, and that means that the pump was kicking in and out, and getting very annoying. So new tap, new pump, so any sort of water bits and pieces in this van, you know, should be very, very good now. So the first thing you need to do, if you want to use the boiler and you want to get the water hot and you want to, you know, do all that sort of stuff, it's really important that you do this one thing first. So you turn your water pump on after you've checked that you've got water in the tank, and then just come over to the tap here and pull the water through. So we've got good pressure there on the cold side. Turn it to the hot. And we've got good pressure there on the hot as well. And once I've turned that tap off there, the pump will get itself up to pressure and switch off. Okay, so that's exactly what's just happened there. That's exactly what we want to see. So doing that proves to us that the boiler is full of water. And the reason that that worked, or the reason that that's true, is that if you pulled the tap on the hot side, like this, if the boiler wasn't full, you wouldn't get any water coming through here. Because in order for the water to get through here, on the hot side of the tap, the boiler must be full. All right, it has to go through the boiler in order to get here. So if it's not full, it won't come out. So doing that proves to us that the boiler is full of water, and we can now go ahead and do whatever we like with the boiler because it won't overheat. If we don't do that and accidentally turn the boiler on when the boiler is empty, it'll just overheat. You know, it's like boiling an empty kettle, basically. It's exactly what it's like. So that's really important, but you know, simple things to just go through and check before you start using everything, basically. So once you've done that, as I said, you are then able to use the boiler how you want to. So you've got the Truma Combi boiler in this particular one. The actual boiler itself sits over here in this corner, which is why I've left it all open. And before I show you how to use it, I will just run you through one other thing. So down here to the left hand side of the boiler, if I can get the camera in there, where is it? Can't really see that very well, can you? So what you've got over in that corner there, if you can see it, is a little yellow tab. Now, that little yellow tab, basically what that is the boiler drain off point. So if you were coming up to winter and you wanted to drain the boiler out of all of its water so that it doesn't freeze up, you need to lift that into the upright position. The way it is now, laying down flat, is basically the way that you want to have it all of the time, because that's how you keep the water inside the boiler. So that will now be full. Anytime that's lifted up, the boiler will be empty. So as I said, the only time you would ever actually do that is if it was coming up to winter and you wanted to just winterize your vehicle by draining everything down. You can drain the boiler out like that. I have got another video on the channel as well to show you how to winterize your vehicle, but that's basically it on this one, really. That and making sure that you pulled all the taps through, leave the taps in the open position. But there you go. Right, so the boiler controls. So you've got on the right hand side Combi E, which is basically telling the boiler what energy to use, whether it be gas, which is selecting on right now, electric, which is up here at the top, or gas and electric at the same time. So at the moment, I've got the gas switched on in the cupboard, so I can use gas, but I've also got the hookup plugged in, so I can use the mains. So I've got a choice of any of these options. So at the moment, I think to myself, right, I don't really want to use any of my gas, so I'm just going to use the hookup. So I'll either go 1 up or 2 up, which I have just written on the habitation sheet. I just checked the power that came through. So the number 1 setting here, this one, is 3.6 amps, and 2 is 6.2 amps. All right, so that's the amount of power that both of those pull on the hookup. So if you were plugged into a 13 amp pole at a campsite and you had the boiler here selected on number 2, you'd be drawing 6.2 amps, and then you've got however much extra to work with. So in that case, you'd have 7 amps left. Okay. Anyway, that's besides the point, really. So at the moment, I want to use this on 1 electric. So I want to use about 3 amps of electric. And then I can tell the boiler what to do over here. All right, so that's sort of how that works. Now at the moment, I've got the air conditioning on, so it's absolutely pointless for me to put the heating on. So I just want hot water only. To do hot water only, we go up 1 or up 2 for either 40 or 60 degrees of hot water. Okay, so that's hot water only. So all the time that your electric is working on the boiler, you have this orange light over here come on, and all of the time that the water is heating up, you'll have this orange light on the left-hand one come on. Just to make things confusing. But that is what that means. That's what all those lights there mean. If you get a little red light come up next to the green one there, it means that the boiler hasn't quite started working or it hasn't lit, and that's just basically a fault code. Okay, so at the moment we're on 60 degrees hot water on electric only. All right, so now if I want to do something completely different, I will turn the boiler into the completely off position. It will flash for a few seconds until it's cooled down, and then it will stop flashing. So now I'm thinking to myself, right, I don't have the hookup plugged in, hypothetically, and I'll go down here to gas only. So now the boiler is going to work on gas only. It won't use any power from the hookup. All right, so I've selected gas only, and it's a really hot day, really cold day, and I want heating and hot water. So down 1 is heating only, and down 2 is heating and hot water at the same time. So now the boiler is working on gas only, and it's doing heating and hot water. So we've got our hot water light on the left-hand one come on, and the heating will, in a few seconds, start pumping through to any of these little circular vents that you've got around the van. Okay, so that's how you use the boiler. Energy controller on the right, telling the boiler what to do on the left. Hot water only to the top, heating only 1 down, heating and hot water at the same time at the bottom. Okay, there you go. The rest of the control panel, by the way, these buttons on the right are all just basically just up and down. So if you wanted to set your timer, just go on there and fiddle around with it. But it doesn't take much to set all that up, really. Sorry about my little bit of mess here. It's just because I've just finished the HAV check. So, right, so you've got a couple of 240 volt sockets just here, which, as I said, you know, these won't work unless the hookup's plugged in. You've then got your air conditioning controller. So it's a Dometic aircon unit. So now I don't know this for a fact, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was fitted from new, because Dometic is sort of the most expensive or the best brand, really. So this controller is very, very simple. You've got a main on and off button in the middle, which will turn the entire thing on and off, if you didn't guess that already. So if I turn that back on now, it just comes back to life. What you've then got, if I just open this up, you've then got a little thing in here saying icons, and that's just telling us what all the little symbols mean. Okay, so the main buttons are up here and free for you to get to. So you've got the fan speed controller, so that's that one there. So that just goes through your fan settings, fan speeds, and then you've got mode. So now I'm not going to press this button because I've got it in the cooling mode at the moment, which is the ice symbol up there, and I've set it to a cold temperature, so that will work. All right, but if you wanted to use it as a heater, which it will also do, you can change it over to one of the other icons and select heating by turning the temperature up. All right, but basically if you've set this temperature here on the screen to something lower than it is in the vehicle, it will start to come on and it will cool the van down. But it works really, really well. Like I said, I've got it on right now, so I know it works nicely. But there you go, that's what that is there. Nothing to show you up there. Right, so this is your fridge. This is a 12 volt fridge. This also works really, really well. I had it on yesterday. I'll just turn it on there now. So all you have to do to get that to come on is just do what I've just done there by turning that dial. If you find that it gets a bit too cold, you can obviously just lower that dial there. You've got a little freezer box up here, which actually isn't a bad size. But yeah, some people just prefer these compressor fridges, these 12 volt fridges. They've got some real plus sides. They get cold really, really quickly, as opposed to a standard 3-way fridge. This, from standard, this would definitely have had a 3-way fridge installed. All right, it would have had a gas, electric and 12 volt fridge. But I can imagine that in the past they've had an issue with it and gone for one of these instead. And like I said, some people really do prefer these. This will get cold in probably about an hour, you know, whereas the 3-way fridges get cold in sort of 3 or 4 hours. But yeah, so that's what that is there. This will carry on working when you start the engine up and drive as well, by the way. So there should be a 12 volt power signal going to this from the engine. So that's just in case you're wondering if it was going to carry on working whilst you drive. Yes, it will. So that is always a big plus as well. slide out cupboard just there, and then we've got the cooker. So a few things to run through on this cooker. A lot of them I would just sort of skim past these a little bit in a way because they're very, very simple, but there are a few things I need to tell you about this one. So first things first, if you come to this van and try to use the cooker one day and can't work out why there's no gas coming to it, it will more than likely be, if you've already checked the simple stuff like check your bottles on and all that sort of stuff, it will more than likely be that you haven't got the cooker lid all the way open. So if I just do this now, if you listen, hear the little sort of clunk there. Now sometimes, I don't know if it is true in this case, but sometimes they've got a little isolator which won't allow any gas to come through until the lid's all the way up. Okay, so if you ever get that problem in the future, just try pushing this right the way back and see if it then comes out. It might sound silly, but I promise you it does work sometimes. You've got ignition for all the gas burners. So you've got your 3-burner hob at the top, the grill and the oven. They all work from this one ignition. So if I just draw the gas through there, that's that. You've also got the electric hob ring at the back there as well. So this goes from 1 all the way through to 6 on this left-hand stalk just here, and it will literally just get hot via the 240 volt power. The cupboard up the top here did have a microwave in it, and I think the previous owners obviously taken it with them. We've left these little pieces of wood in here because if you decided to get a microwave in here yourself, you're probably going to need them because it'll need to space it up a little bit and stuff. But that's why we've left those in there. It's not just us being lazy, just in case you wondered. Right, so access to the fresh tank is from down here. I can just lift it up. A little bit awkward to get up. There you go. So access to the fresh tank is just here. Take this cap off just here, and then it gives you access to the waste drain, the fresh drain, sorry, fresh drain. So the little red bung that you can just about see in there is how you drain out your fresh water in this particular vehicle. Very, very standard for one of these Swift vans to have it laid out like that. And that is all just under there, nice and neatly. Like I said, the water pump sits underneath this seat just here, and you've got your forward facing seat belts. Right, just show you into the bathroom now then. So bathroom is super simple. You've got the hot and cold mixer tap just there, and you've also got the hot and cold mixer tap for the shower as well, just literally hot and cold, hot to the left, cold to the right. And the toilet is the bit that I generally run through, only really because it's not normally the only part that people aren't familiar with. So you've got this blue button at the back here, which is the water pump flush switch. So pressing and holding that button will pump the water around to flush the toilet, and then you pull this little handle towards us, drains it into the cassette, and then push the handle back. And that is it. That is honestly as simple as it gets. So your light switch for the bathroom is down here as well. So you've got 2 lights up there. That one there just needed a little tap. But yeah, there you go. Right, so we carry on. So you've got the main wardrobe here, which I just pointed out to you. You've got the paperwork for the vehicle within this brown box here. The TV aerial is a tilt and turn aerial, and that's the one just there alongside the booster over there as well. The little cupboard to the right of that as well, just in case you didn't know, you've got your draining board and sink cover in there, as well as your full-size standalone table. Nice and neatly in there. So, like I was saying, on the outside, you've got your leisure batteries down here. The 240 volt battery charger is there as well, and it does say do not cover, and that is really important because that battery charger will get hot So you know, if you cover that up with anything, it will just overheat and probably catch fire. So just be really careful not to do that. That's all that's really down there, to be honest. The only thing I really need to point out. The only other thing is that you've got down here underneath this seat, if I just lift this up a little bit. So down here we've got a couple of things. You've got your main fuse box up there on the top, your 240 volt trip switches, and your solar controller. So because you've got a solar panel on the roof and it is wired up to both engine and leisure batteries, you've got your controller there for it. So that's what you call a duo controller. Okay, so I think, in all honesty, that is about it. I'm waiting for a little catch for this little bit here because it's stopped working. Typical. And a couple of extra keys for the keys basically, and that's about it. So everything else, there was a few bits and pieces, like I said, that needed doing on the hab check, but you know, better we do it now than you have to come back with any problems. So the only other thing I will say is that this part just here, I'm not kind of like covering it on the habitation check because it's an aftermarket fitting. It's not something that we've put on here. I'm thinking it must be some kind of clever inverter, because this plugs into 12 volt power over here, and then it gives you USB sockets and 240 volt power here, which I don't really understand because it's such a small unit. But yeah, I mean, use it if you want to, but it's not something that I would be sort of covering, if you like. I haven't tested it, and actually, because it's a 12 volt socket, there's no way it's going to have 240 volt earth. It's got positive and negative but no earth, so yeah, that's up to you. I just thought I'd point that out. So yeah, I think I've pretty much shown you everything. If there's anything you think I've missed out or anything you want going over again, just let us know. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks very much.